Federalist 57, Part 2. I'm going to start with paragraph 7. If we consider the situation of the men on whom the free suffrage of their fellow citizens may confer the representative trust, we shall find it involving every security which can be devised or desired for their fidelity to their constituents. In the first place, as they will have been distinguished by the preference of their fellow citizens, we are to presume that in general they will be somewhat distinguished also by those qualities which entitle them to it, and which promise a sincere and scrupulous regard to the nature of their engagements. Now remember, you're hearing echoes of Federalist 10. Over there is that extend the sphere, make the republic large. Yes, the districts are going to be large, the districts that you elect your representatives, but you will get refined characters. People that are wise will come to the forefront and make themselves candidates. So, yes, again, following from the first part of this Federalist, he says 65 members would have been too few for the first House of Representatives, for the first Congress, if they were not wise. But we are expecting virtuous citizens to take part, both electing great representatives and also people who want to be candidates to be virtuous, knowledgeable, wise. So that's why we want this system is going to work. In the second place, they will enter into the public service under circumstances which cannot fail to produce a temporary affection, at least to their constituents. There is in every breast a sensibility to marks of honor, of favor, of esteem, and of confidence, which, apart from all considerations of interests, is some pledge for grateful and benevolent returns. Ingratitude is a common topic of declamation against human nature, and it must be confessed that instances of it are but too frequent and flagrant, both in the public and in private life. But the universal and extreme indignation which it inspires is itself a proof of the energy and prevalence of the contrary sentiment. He says, yes, when we know history, we know how human nature is. You have to be always on the watch. Okay, and we've seen too many examples of ambitious people coming and wanting to corrupt the system. But he says at the same time, there are people that are going to be truly working for the betterment of their country and their people of their country. They'll put that above and beyond everything else. And that's what we're counting on. In the third place, those ties which bind the representative to his constituents are strengthened by motives of a more selfish nature. His pride and vanity attach him to a form of government which favors his pretensions and gives him a share in its honors and distinctions. Whatever hopes or projects might be entertained by a few aspiring characters, it must generally happen that a great proportion of men deriving their advancement from their influence with the people would have more to hope for from a preservation of the favor than from innovations in the government subversive to the authority of people. Yes, some of these people are going to be ambitious and might be corrupted, but the way we've made this system, that you go and every 2 years you run for office again, you go up for elections again, and these representatives will think twice before getting corrupted, because they say, well, election is around the corner. I have to let people know that they can trust me, that I'll do an honorable thing, and that will keep a lot of these people also from getting corrupted. They'll be reminded that they will be honored in their country if they do the right thing. All these securities, however, would be found very insufficient without the restraint of frequent elections. So here's the key word. He says, all of what I'm saying would not really mean much if we didn't have frequent elections. And especially in the case of House of Representatives, every 2 years. Hence, in the fourth place, the House of Representatives is so constituted as to support in the members an habitual recollection of their dependence on the people. Before the sentiments impressed on their minds by the mode of their elevation can be effaced by the exercise of power, they will be compelled to anticipate the moment when their power is to cease, when their exercise of it is to be reviewed, and when they must descend to the level from which they were raised, there forever to remain unless a faithful discharge of their trust shall have established their title to a renewal of it. In other words, if they haven't done their job, they'll be kicked out. And if they have, they can honorably stand there and say, I deserve to be reelected because I've been wise, I've acted honorably. The next paragraph, I will add as a fifth circumstance in the situation of the House of Representatives, restraining them from oppressive measures, that they can make no law which will not have its full operation on themselves and their friends, as well as on the great mass of the society. We've talked about this. One of the guarantees that this Constitution gives is that that same law is going to apply to the lawmaker, his friends, and his family, as well as the whole society. This has always been deemed one of the strongest bonds by which human policy can connect the rulers and the people together. It creates between them that communion of interests and sympathy of sentiments of which few governments have furnished examples, but without which every government degenerates into tyranny. If it be asked, what is to restrain the House of Representatives from making legal discriminations in favor of themselves and a particular class of society? I answer, the genius of the whole system, the nature of just and constitutional laws, and above all, the vigilant and manly spirit which actuates the people of America, a spirit which nourishes freedom and in return is nourished by it. So again, like I said in part one, he counts on people being virtuous, responsible, showing up, being knowledgeable, and voting. He says, in this case, the genius of American people, when he uses again the word genius, he's talking about what majority of American people feel or think about certain things, a certain thing. So he says, the genius of American people and the manly spirit that they have, they just went through a revolutionary war. That will be a reminder to them that they cannot take their freedoms for granted. So he says, that will be another safeguard. If this spirit shall ever be so far debased as to tolerate a law not obligatory on the legislature, as well as on the people will be prepared to tolerate anything but liberty. So if they do something and they write a law that's not going to apply to them, only to people, they're going to safeguard only they themselves, these representatives, are going to safeguard only themselves and the group that they are trying to represent, American people are not going to tolerate that. The law has to apply to everyone. The lawmaker himself or herself, the lawmaker's family and friends, as well as to the mass of the society.